Great. So before we start, we're going to do a little bit of the agenda to give all of you an idea that we're going to talk about the current environment of what's going on with the app, the application. Then we're going to talk about the second wave where we're going to have an influx of customers coming in. All right. Then we're going to talk just updates, overall updates regarding the application. Then we're going to go into the training for log edit, just talk about different things about the log, what you can do, what you can't do, a better overall understanding of it. Then I'm going to pass it over to Anna, where she will go ahead and do her presentation with the Wylon team. And then she'll pass it back over us, and so we can have some questions and answers. Great. So let's start with the current environment. David, if you can kind of update us.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Eddie. Good afternoon, good morning. I think most of you have talked to me before, and David, working here, together with Eddie. We wanted to go over, everything that has happened for the last 2-3 months. What we think is going to be a second wave. We think it's important to touch on, the application, current status, issues, things that we have found, and the ones that have been fixed, and the ones that we are still working on. We picked log edit as an example. I think this is one of the most common questions that we have, and different ways to do it, different things that should not be done. That's what we wanted to kind of like show you the different constraints that we have right now, how the whole process works from the driver point of view or a carrier. And then we'll hand it, over to Wylon, to Anna. She's gonna talk about Campos and, show you different vehicles. So I guess, you know that December was kind of a hectic month, a lot of demand, not enough supply, a lot of drivers. We kind of like went into a little bit of impasse or slowdown based on, marketplace, the rumors and the feedback that we're getting from direct customers, from resellers. It seems that a second wave is pretty much coming up. Most people, carriers, drivers, they think April 1st is going to be actually when FMCSA or the DOT are actually going to start, doing fines and have a bigger impact. This is probably not true. There's not an official statement when it comes to April 1st being like when FMCSA will actually start fining carriers, but it seems like this is kind of like a general perception, which we just wanted to bring that up for, you also on our side to make sure that we also prepare for April 1st. And the challenge here is to do much better than how we compared to December. We should take this period of time to regroup, readjust, restock, ask questions, make sure that everything is ready. So when April 1st comes, we are better prepared. So that is our recommendation at this point. I will talk a little bit now about application issues, fixes, and ongoing work that we're doing right now. I think odometer, Bluetooth are the two major issues right now. Inconsistent odometer reading, non-related to specific piece of hardware, specific ECM link. Some of them are doing better. Some of them kind of like operate differently. The end result is that there are still inconsistent odometer readings that have a big impact when it comes to the end user experience driven miles being calculated using the wrong odometer, not making sense, negative numbers. There are different things that were not working properly, and we're currently working on. Um, Version 97 of the app, which I think was released about a week ago, kind of touched on that odometer issue. We already gotten positive feedback from few resellers saying that the odometer has been much better. So we basically are filtering what we consider inconsistent odometer readings, and the end user experience should be much better right now. We are also working really hard. We're spending a long time when it comes to Bluetooth connectivity, reconnection. Um, each ECN device works differently. We have classic Bluetooth, we have BLE devices. Each of them handle connections, reconnection, broadcasting differently. They're not at 100%. We're trying to do everything that we can on the app side to minimize the impact on Bluetooth connectivity and reconnection. So we have a new app release, which the goal is to be able to finish today, roll it out during the weekend, that implements some changes when it comes to Bluetooth and Bluetooth reconnection. Our expectation kind of the same as we did with the odometer. We already got positive feedback on filtering odometer. Inconsistent odometer readings, we are aiming for the same when it comes to Bluetooth. It should be a lot better, and we hope that you can see that change. Yeah. Also wanted to mention, touch on the different other things. Even though we from the beginning we said that our app works on Android 4.3 or higher, and then only needs GPS, Bluetooth, we want to stress out that there are more than, I think it's close to 9,000, 10,000 different smart devices that falls under that specification: GPS, Bluetooth, Android 4.3 and up. It's possible to test 10,000 different devices. You can always go to your Google developer account and you can search for specific tablet, and it will tell you if it's compatible or not. So basically what we're trying to do before you go out and build up your configuration, make sure that you're selecting the right configuration when it comes to ECM, when it comes to tablet, version, and all that. We want to make sure that you're building the best possible solution. It's going to be better for you, for your customers, and end user experience will be a lot better. So it's very simple. Pretty much all of you have your own Google developer account where we publish a rebranded app. You just need to go there, find the compatible devices, search for any specific tablet that you're planning to use, and find out if it's okay or not, if it's listed as supported or not. That's our recommendation. Two other things that I want to mention. We're trying to help out as much as we can. In a few occasions, we have actually called drivers directly if we found the phone. Those are your customers. We start receiving notifications from FMCSA where a driver who was stopped by a roadside agent was asked to upload the EOD data file to FMCSA, and the data file is being rejected. We try to get to you as a reseller if we did it on time. If not, to the driver, to explain and let them know what is it that is failing, so they're not fined, they don't get a warning. But just for you to know, as a reseller, the two main issues when it comes to exporting ELD data file that we're getting back, the notifications that we're getting back from FMCSA, is that the carrier is using a wrong DOT number or an invalid VIN number. So please, as a reseller, reach out to your carriers, to your end users. Make sure that then when they go online to carrier info, when it says carrier ID, DOT number, they're using the right number. That's not the place to put the company name or letters. It's just a number. It's very simple. It's the DOT number executed in the U.S. by DOT. So keep that in mind. I think it's gonna help you a lot. If not, you're gonna probably get a lot of calls from drivers because they're getting the ELD data file getting rejected by FMCSA, and that's not. The timing is really bad because at that moment they are already under inspection with the DOT agent. So we want to avoid that. Okay, so they're not fined, they don't get any warning. So just please go back, make sure that the DOT number, they're using the right number. Okay, and the VIN number, again, we know there are a lot of trucks that even when the driver is reading from the truck's registration and is using that VIN number, the app's still saying it's invalid. So we're basically using FMCSA VIN number validation. And according to FMCSA, that's not a valid VIN. We changed the app to allow for that invalid VIN number to be entered and for the app to continue to work. But just keep that in mind. There are still people using invalid VIN numbers. So there are still some outstanding issues with the app. I just want to touch on that a little bit. It's one that we're getting. It's not that we're getting a lot, but at least I'm going to say the higher percentage of the calls that we're getting has to do with the weekly cycle not being restarted. We identify where's the issue, what is happening, and we're working on it. We are pretty sure that we're going to be able to finish today. And again, that will be pushed out on this weekend rollout on version 98.
So we're at the Wyland dashboard here, and we're going to go to where we launched to the app, launch the hours of service. It opens up the tab here. And throughout the different tabs, we're going to go to the second one for logbook. We're going to select our account, right? And let's select a driver here. And we're selecting driver. And I'm going to go to appropriate date that we have information on and hit execute. As you can see, is the driver's daily log, different logbooks, and it has different information, time, location, odometer, status, right? And well, one of the things as an edit that the carrier can do is that they can go ahead and keep in mind that all the statuses can be changed except for driving status, all right? And then there's certain things, constraints to what you can do that we're going to get into. But for right now, I'm going to start off with a simple carrier requested edit where they go ahead and they see the little edit icon, select it, right? And by selecting it, the carrier can now request the driver to change a particular status, right? Now, they could add whatever remark they want, all right, and they could change it. Now, as you can see under status here, they're limited to the type of statuses changes that they can do. That's because this status change is depends on what they were doing before and after. So again, to clarify, I am under the off-duty status where the odometer clicked on it. And the reason why and David's going to dive into a little bit more constraints of what you can change before and after your current status. So right now, I just want to address that the carrier can request a certain edit to be changed, for example, from off to the sleeper bird, select that, and hit save. So what happens now is a data file will be generated and sent to the driver, right? And once the driver logs out of the application or he logs into it, there will be a pop-up window requesting him to make an option of allowing the changes to be made, which the carrier requested, by approving it, or by selecting rejecting the request. All right? Now, if you have a carrier with multiple drivers, they're going to have to keep track of all the different drivers' carrier edits. So this is where the second tab comes in, carrier requested edit. I've selected it. And what this does is it pulls a report so the carriers can see if the driver has approved the edit or rejected the edit. All right? So I'm going to go ahead and pull up the account, all drivers, and I'm just going to pick an account from the beginning of January to today's date and hit execute. As you see all the way in the right, it's processing, and this is just a list of all drivers that we have submitted a edit request, right? Their driver, the vehicle information, timestamp, when we're requesting the timestamp, what the status that we're requesting to change, the location, and the status. So here, there's only three options. There's the driver can reject the edit, they can approve the edit, which is assumed, or requested means they have not logged in or logged out. All right. From the, we're also going to demonstrate what it looks like from the application side. All right. And Sergey, can you see the application on the screen?
Yeah, looks good, Eddie.
Perfect, perfect. Okay. So then here we have the application of how the driver sees it. How the driver sees it, and when he logs out, which he has to be on off duty, he's gonna get a request from the application for the request that we just did. I'm gonna hit log out. Now it's asking me to certify or not. We're gonna go log out without certification of logs. And this is the carrier proposed edit. So the driver can either reject it, select, this is the status that he was in, off duty. The carrier would want him on status of sleeper bird, and if you hit accept, select the logs, hit OK. It's updated it. Now I'm going to go ahead and re-pull the same file. Now remember, this usually takes a few seconds. It's about 35 to 40 seconds to see it, but I'm going to go ahead within the same time frame, and we're going to see for the user, we're going to hit execute. It's processing, and the request that we submitted here will be updated. All right, give it a time set, and we should see it. It's taking a little bit, so from depending on your internet connection speed, it takes a little while. I'm going to hit execute one more time, and I'd like to show you. Hold on. So here we go. On this execute button right there, I'm going to select it one more time. It's processing, and now the requested has changed to assume, and it's been updated. All right. Keep in mind that while the driver is driving, while he's in driving status, he's not going to get any of these pop-ups or notifications. He can he can address this once he logs out, right? Because remember, this is all relating to safety, and we don't want any kind of messages or pop-ups while he's in driving status. But once he's on off duty or in on duty, or actually when he's logging out, is when it goes ahead and addresses that, or when he's logging into the application for the first time. All right. Now we're gonna talk just a little bit. So we've talked about just the web portal, the tab for the carrier to keep track of this. We also changed how through the actual logbook, how they request the change, and why I showed you how they can approve it or reject it. How we ran a report. We addressed a little bit of when the driver can do this when he's logged off, right? And now we're going to talk a little bit of what constraints are imposed, all right? And I'm going to hand it over to David, where he can elaborate on it. David?
Thank you, Eddie. Let me just go back here to where the carrier actually makes a request. There are some basic requests. For instance, if you want to change this off-duty status here at 1:30, it makes sense that you cannot move the timestamp, to either before the previous duty status, and also you cannot change the timestamp to after the following duty status. Those are basic constraints. You cannot change that. Now, currently, the app allows you have to pick a duty status that is not the same as the one before or the one after. So let me show you just an example. It's telling you can go to sleeper berth, passenger seat, yard move, personal use, but it's not letting you go to on duty because on duty was a previous status. So that is the way that the app, that the solution works right now. We are working right now on changing that, where you can actually pick the same duty status as the one before or after, again, making sure it wasn't driving. That way you can kind of like erase a duty status that was entered by the driver by mistake. There's something the carrier needs to keep in mind, which is by the mandate, the ELD cannot delete a record. So once we allow the driver to make it look like a duty status was erased, for instance, let's say here that he made a mistake here, wasn't on duty, this duty status right here, when the driver is saying, no, I was not off duty, I actually spent from 11:30 all the way to 2 p.m. on duty, we're going to allow the driver to remove that off-duty time, just that the carrier needs to know that on the ELD export file, that change is going to be recorded and it's going to be shown to the agent. That's the only thing. That's how it's supposed to work. But we have a lot of different requests about being able to kind of like delete a duty status, make it the same as the one before, which we don't allow to do it right now. So, but we're working on that, and it's gonna work. And I would think in about a week, it should be ready. So those are basically the two constraints. Again, there's one that it makes sense. Date and time, you cannot change that 1:30 to anything before the previous duty status, or you cannot change that time to anything after the next duty status. That's the one. And then current constraint is that we don't let them pick the same duty status before or after. We're working on that. We're gonna allow the driver to do that, keeping in mind that everything is shown on the ELD data file.
All right. So, really, that's the only thing. The most important thing we wanted to show you guys on the edit of the logs is understanding that driver status can't be changed. Also, the constraints of what you're able to change depending on what status you were before and after the status that you want to edit. So we wanted to address that. And then we wanted to kind of just summarize what it entails for the carrier to submit it and for the driver to go ahead and approve it and reject it, and what time he sees that. Okay. This is pretty much it for the training on the edit. There's going to be more to come, but I'm going to hand it over to Anna, and she's going to elaborate a little bit on the Wyland portion.